The Biden White House coming to the sudden realization that crime is bad after blaming the wave of violence on the pandemic. The administration now trying to distance itself from outrageous comments from far-left Democrats like AOC and Chicago's Mayor Lori Lightfoot, who are downplaying the smash and grab rampages.
I'm disappointed that they're not doing more to take safety and make it a priority. For example, we still have retailers that won't institute plans like having security officers in their stores.
We're actually seeing a lot of these allegations of organized retail theft are not actually panning out. Like these, I believe it's a Walgreens in California cited it, but the data didn't back it up. So.
Apparently, it took Democrats spewing that nonsense for the White House to finally condemn it.
We don't agree. We have seen some of these extremely disturbing videos showing retail thefts, and both major retailers as well as state and local leaders like Governor Newsom have identified this as a serious concern. We agree. That's the reason why we have sent additional support from the FBI, providing additional assistance.
While some liberal prosecutors claim the crime surge isn't real, 12 major cities are setting homicide records. And the crime crisis hitting close to home. Fox News is rebuilding our all-American Christmas tree after an arsonist set it on fire. Police and firefighters responded quickly, and thankfully, no one was hurt. All right, Greg, no one liked the tree more than you did.
Yeah,
How do you feel?
It's a terrific loss in my life. Yeah, actually, it is. It's pretty horrible. The tree is basically represents the kind of random violence that is fueled by mental illness that has become pretty much part of everyday city life. We have abandoned the deranged, and I use the deranged as a scientific term. There are criminally deranged people living on our streets. And we're part of some weird experiment where progressives had never really thought about what happens when you allow unstable and dangerous people into the general public. Well, they assault women. We've seen that. They assault elderly women. We've seen that. We've seen them assault elderly Asian women. Remember, that used to be a hate crime, right? Is it still a hate crime? Because we don't hear about it. There's lots of property damage, and now you see a tree getting burned down. A lot of this crime, we know what's causing it. We don't know how to deal with this problem anymore, and it has to do with a change in language using the umbrella term of homeless, which consists of a lot of different factions. But we immediately are told to assume it's people down on their luck. But it's not just that. You have grifters, you have junkies, you have the mentally ill, you have the criminally deranged. We were sold the idea that the homeless were just benign families who missed 1 month of rent. No, you walk up and down the streets of New York, you see the consequences of Mayor de Blasio's utter failure in dealing with the mentally ill. We gave his wife $1 billion to deal with this. We have no idea where the money went. Meanwhile, innocent civilians, tourists, people in Times Square in broad daylight are getting their asses kicked. They're getting bludgeoned. They're getting murdered by people who do not belong in the street. And we want to get them off the street because they're a danger to themselves as well. But we have a grotesque, ghoulish mayor who doesn't give a flying F. So there's only one solution for this, and that is people have to start suing the cities that release thugs and the mentally ill onto the street who brutalize people. There's a guy that just beat 2 women in New York, and he was released. Then he went and beat another woman savagely at night, like 9 a.m. on a Sunday. And then he was let out again. And these are the courts. We don't have guns in New York. We can't protect ourselves. The cops only arrive after the crime. The only thing that's left is to go after the courts, to sue the cities, and whether it's a class action suit, but this stuff has to stop.
Do you think that'd be effective if people started just slapping lawsuits on these municipalities, Judge?
You know, it depends. A lot of people are covered by sovereign immunity, but here's the problem. It all lies in the legislature. This whole issue has to do with the revolving door of justice, whether it be the revolving door of justice as it relates to criminals or the revolving door as it relates to mental illness. We don't know that this guy was mentally ill. Everybody wants to say, oh, they're mentally ill, they're crazy. I think they're evil, okay? There's a big difference. But he's got 2 prior public intoxication, 2 prior drug arrests and 1 public intoxication. There's nothing that indicates he's necessarily mentally ill. Maybe he's off his rocker. I wouldn't climb up that tree. But, you know, that's just me.
You got
But
the legs for it.
Yeah, they got the, no, not anymore. But here's the problem. The problem is that we are left to live with those who are dangerous to us and to the community.
Right.
As a judge, my power always stemmed from the ability to take someone out of society who I thought was a danger to himself or others. It's called a 730 in New York. Then you can send them to Bellevue, and then they can sit there for a while and be analyzed. But the bottom line here is the left is lying to us, and that's why this is happening. When Lori Lightfoot comes out and she says, there's no crime here, and it's up to the people who own the stores, you're full of crap. The people who own the stores pay taxes, and you're defunding the police. You're telling the police to stand down. It's you, Lori Lightfoot. And I'm sick and tired of people talking about the fact that, you know what, we've got to worry about these people. No, I want to worry about the innocent victims. And Larry Krasner ought to be booted out of Philadelphia, I should say, and recalled, along with Gascon. They are literally killing us and injuring us.
How do you feel about all this,
I mean,
Dana?
I would concur with everything. I am baffled by the effort to downplay the rising rate of crime and murder across the country by the federal government, by the administration. I understand that the press secretary today said, well, actually, the DOJ is helping a little bit. Like, I just think that's pretty weak sauce compared to what people are seeing. When you had one of the police officers today, when the stats came out about the 12 cities, he said that it was up in Rochester, that this is like a war zone. I mean, people are actually seeing this with their own eyes, and I think we need a surge to deal with it. I think that a lot of this money that they want to spend and build back better should be put into our prison system, into the court system. If the courts are backed up or the prisons are backed up or you don't have enough prison guards, you don't have enough police, that's where I would put all of that money. Maybe not all, okay. But I would put a great majority of it there, because if people do not feel safe, people are not going to vote for you if you tell them, you're fine. You're fine. No, don't worry. This is murder capital. Don't worry about it. War zone. It's not real. That's what Larry Krasner did in Philadelphia.
Yep.
People are not going to vote for them. People are going to vote for people who say, I'll keep you safe. And who's saying that right now?
I'm saying it.
Remember, you're a conservative now that you're pregnant.
Yeah.
For one more week.
Did you read the New York Times headline, though, about this tree? They said it just caught on fire. Just caught.
Well,
on
that
fire.
SUV also just plowed through
Right.
the Christmas
Yeah.
parade.
Wow, you're really coming around.
I just read a lot, and it was in the New York Times, so as it was in my Bible. So Eric Adams is saying, I'm going to keep you safe.
Yeah.
And there are some mayors across the country, and specifically the police chiefs, who I think are leading this surge of making it clear to people in even higher positions of power that what's going on the ground is not adequate. They don't have the support that they need. They don't have enough police officers who have stayed in their jobs or who want to answer these calls, because they know that things are not going to turn out as well for them as they did before. And we can debate how we got to this place. But I think it relates back to our conversation from last week about when we're going to see the fissures between the DAs and the council members and the police officers, the police chiefs, and now the administration. And I do believe that Joe Biden gets this. This is how he talked on the campaign trail. He was the first one to come out about the looting and to say, this is different than the George Floyd protests. This is ransacking stores and just taking what you want. So I'm hopeful that we'll shift more in that direction. And as always, because this is on film, this is why this is happening. Like, this is why people are going to jail who might normally be able to get away with it. And it's what's going on with these stores, because you can't say they're not being looted because it's all on film.
Yeah, but who's going to jail?
Like Derek Chauvin. I'm saying that we've had a lot of
murders, but the violent crime that affects all of us.
I'm just saying that the phenomenon of being able to record everything is making a substantive difference in people's ability
That's
to
been about
ignore
20
things.
years. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Well, from the reporting, the guy that lit the tree on fire is probably going to get out today or tomorrow
make
because
bail.
it's
Arson.
not a felony arson for what he did, apparently.
It is it's an offense under New York law where he has to be bailed.
Right.
Okay? And forget about whether or not he has a tie to the community. The guy's homeless. He has no ties.
Right.
So how does he do bail if he doesn't have any money?
You don't need money anymore.
Yeah, you don't.
Walk
That's
out the
why
door.
they have this bail
No cash
reform.
bail.
No cash bail.
Euphemism.
Hopefully they take away his lighter.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.